Hello, welcome back to Oh, It's Better This Way, where we'll find out together. Is it really better this way? Is it not? I don't know. Come along, let's find out, shall we? Thanks for being here. It is River. I am very excited to have you here with me today in my lovely childhood bedroom. Thanks for joining. I'm currently working on the album cover for my friend's EP, and I also felt like talking, so I figured this could be fun. I'm gonna draw, you're gonna draw with me, maybe, or you're not gonna do that and you're just gonna hang out to me and listen to me talk, and maybe do another task, but also maybe not. Maybe the task is watching and listening. I don't know you. I could though. I don't. Anyways, but I figured talking while I do this might be fun. I'm already having fun because I'm feeling a little chaotic today. Did not have coffee. I had tea instead. When I was in Europe, I got back into the habit of having coffee every day, and then when I came back here in order to adjust, I had coffee every day still, and I'm like, no, you know what? I missed when I wasn't having coffee every day, because when I had the plague, I had to stop having coffee every day because it made my heart rate go up too high. And you know what? It still does that. So I'm trying to not have that so much. I'm trying to not do that. So anyways, I'm feeling a little wacky. That was so long for no reason. Anyways, so let me just open up Procreate here. Oh my gosh, open. I'm a true iPad kid. And so I'll be working on this. I won't show it to you just because it's in progress. I will be sure to link the EP when it comes out because you'll see it there. But I don't want to spoil anything since, I mean, it's my artwork, but it's not like my project. So stay tuned, follow Randy Louise on Spotify so that you can, one, see the album cover, but two, and more importantly, listen to the music. Because they're really good at music. They're so good at music. Anyways, so stay tuned for that. But yeah, maybe you can draw with me, maybe you won't, maybe, who knows. But so what I want to talk about today is that time in my life when I read 35 books in the span of 2.5 months. We're gonna talk about that. So I was 12 years old. It was the summer after 7th grade, and I read 35 books during my summer vacation, not including summer reading. So with summer reading, it might have been 37 or 38, maybe. I can't really see myself having to read more than like 2 or 3 books for schools, but I don't really know. But so 35 books for my own specific enjoyment and pleasure. That's a lot of books. That's a lot. So how did I read that much? Well, you see, I didn't have friends. Maybe the story would have been different if I don't know, had friends and talked to people, or had people that wanted to talk to me. At that phase of my life, I had just like gone through a whole fiasco of ending a friendship with someone who had been my best friend and then decided to be mean to me because, you know, middle school, so why not? Happens. It's the oldest tale in the book, dare I say. But during that time, my only friends were books, and I loved it. I read so much. Some days I would start a book in the morning and I would finish it in the late afternoon, and then before I had to go inside for dinner, I would simply start another book. And this was an everyday thing. Every day during the summer when it was nice out, I would go outside in the back, and we used to have a swing set, so I would sit on the swing and I would just read all day. I was voracious. I was a ravenous reader. I could not possibly get enough. It was never enough. I always wanted to keep reading. Obviously, I would also read inside. I wouldn't just read outside, but anyways. Reading at that time was the only thing that really brought me any semblance of joy or happiness or contentment. And I looked forward to it every day. You would think that that's the only thing I was doing every single day, I would get tired of it, but no, I looked forward to it every single day. Every single day I wanted to be reading. Every single moment I wanted to be reading. I would get annoyed if I was ever interrupted because I was in the middle of a page, or I was in the middle of a paragraph, or I was in the middle of the book itself. And I just wanted to keep on reading it until it was done. And I have not read that many books since. In high school, I had a very tenuous relationship with reading. I hardly read. I would read sometimes. I would go on kicks, and even throughout college I feel like I'd go on kicks of reading sometimes, but nowhere near what I was reading. It was not regular. It was not a habit for me anymore. It wasn't something that I really looked forward to, and I think that part of that has to do with school. I won't lie. It's a very busy time in my life, but also when I went to high school, had friends again, and in 8th grade started having friends. So I was like, oh, hanging out with friends, that's the most important thing to me. So I would set everything aside, not even to because I couldn't hang out with them during the week, or I guess I could have, but I didn't hang out with them during the week, but I would set aside time just for texting them, which is great. And I was very happy to have friends, and so I'm happy that I had those friendships when I had them. But that's where all my free time was going. So I wasn't focusing on hobbies and activities that brought me joy, such as reading, such as drawing. And I started trying to find my way back to that during college. The college was just genuinely so busy with work that it was very difficult to find the time to read, but I still would here and there. But so now that I'm post-grad, I'm really trying to find my way back to loving reading. And I'm not trying to read 35 books in 2.5 months anymore. I have too many interests for that to be possible for me, but I am trying to read more, and really what I'm trying to cultivate is that mindset I had towards reading, where I would get up in the morning to read. I would get dressed so that I could go outside and sit in the sunshine to read, and it was very intentional. It made me get up and do something I enjoyed with the day, just for me, and I loved that. And that's kind of where I'm trying to get back to, is just doing something because I enjoy it and not really for any other reason, I'm trying to have it be something that I look forward to doing again in my spare time. So that's why I'm doing, on the Storygraph, I'm doing the January Pages Challenge, where it's essentially a challenge to read and log at least one page, just one page each day. And that has been so helpful, of just being you just have to read one page, and if that's all you can do, that's all you can do. You're done. You did it. But if you read one page and you want to read one more, or you want to read 10 more, or you want to read 20 more, you can do that too. But all you have to do is just one page. And I quite like framing challenges like that, where all you need to do is just one page. Or I have been trying to practice my instruments a lot more. All I need to do is practice for 5 minutes, 10 minutes. And if I want to do more, I can do more. And usually what ends up happening for me is I end up really liking whatever I'm doing. So I do more. That doesn't work for everyone, but I have, I'm neurodivergent. I have quite the bout of executive dysfunction myself, and that is one of the mindset framework shifts that has really helped me actually be able to do the things that I like doing. One of the goals that I have for myself this year is actually to read some of the books that have been on my TBR shelf for ever. You know those books. If you have them, you know those books. But I have some books in my collection that I've had literally since I was the voracious reader that I was in 7th grade. that long. So there are some of those books that I've been on my TBR for literally so long that, you know, I would like to get to, and I would like to get to them this year. And I want to clear through some of that TBR shelf while also making space for some of the newer books that I'm really interested in reading, like on Libby, or the newer books that I've gotten recently. Some of the books that I want to read this year include The Book Thief, which I have had maybe since sometime in high school, when one of my best friends, who I've been friends with since like 8th grade, actually gave that book to me as a gift because it was her favorite book, at least at the time. And so she gave it to me, and so I really want to read that one this year. I've been putting that off for years. I really, really want to read it because I really love reading books that have been gifted to me because they're someone I care about's like favorite book, or it made them think of me, or like something like that. So I really want to get to that this year because I think it's time. I've been putting it off for so long. It's been on my shelf for forever. I also really want to reread the Percy Jackson series this year because I, like many, those were the books that actually got me really into reading, like in the first place. I just loved those books. I worshipped them. They were my literal everything, and I would love to reread them because I have never reread them ever. And I'd love to revisit them, especially since they gave me my love of reading, really. They really instilled that in me at such a young age, and I'm really, really thankful for that. I'd also like to finish some of the books that I've been in the middle of reading forever. Because I don't know about you, but for me, there are just some books that, for one reason or another, take me just so long to finish. I think it's definitely the neurodivergence throwing all the wrenches in my plans. I almost said all the forks in my plans. Anyways. And for one reason or another, I just go through them really, really slowly, even if I like them. So some of those books include These Violent Delights by Chloe Gong, which I have been reading since March of 2021, which isn't that bad for me. That's also partially because I rented it, or I got a loan of it off of Libby, so through my library, and you only have it for a certain amount of time, and I am a person who definitely reads more than one book at once just because my attention is very vast, I would say. So sometimes some books don't really scratch the itch that is my attention in the exact right way, so I need a different book that will scratch it better than that book can, you know? So I usually have a few books that I'm reading at once just for that reason. And then with Libby, sometimes the holds just take forever. So I definitely started this book when I was focused on a different book more so at that time, and just had this as my like backup book for when that main book I was focusing on wasn't scratching the itch. So I always like to have a main book of the moment, but then I have backup books for, yeah, you get it. And so I definitely started These Violent Delights at a time when I had a different main book, so it was one of the backup books. I got through like 20% of it, but then, you know, it had to be returned back since it was a Libby loan. And getting a loan of it again, it just like took forever because every time it would pop up, it just wasn't a good time for me. So I kept just, I just kept putting it back on hold or extending the hold period. But now I'm finally reading it again, and so far, so good. I reminded myself of everything that happened the other day by rereading some chunks, and I even have gotten a little bit further, and I think I'm gonna finish it in this loan period. Fingers crossed. Another book like that I've been reading forever has been Anne of Green Gables, which I started reading the summer of 2020. I read quite a bit of it during the summer of 2020, but then at a point I was just like, oh, I'd rather read other books right now, so then I started reading other books, but I just forgot to keep reading it, as it happens with ADHD sometimes. But I would like to finish that because it was a gift from a friend during college, so I want to finish that. And I will. Yeah, I just need to finish it. I really want to. It's very pleasant. It's very quaint. And I quite like how quaint it was. Another one of those books that I've been reading forever is Gideon the Ninth. And this one I really love. But this one is the one that has been taking me the longest to finish it. I've been reading it since late 2019. That one's kind of embarrassing. I won't lie to you, that's a little embarrassing for me. But I do very much like that book, so I will be finishing it. Yeah, that one has just been taking me forever, and that's fine. That's fine. I'll finish it. I'm gonna finish it. It's fine. And then a book that I started, but then I was like, nah, I don't feel like reading this right now, so I stopped, and I'd like to restart it, like all the way back at the beginning, is Blue X by Maggie Nelson. I started reading it in a park, but I was like tired that day, so I just was not, like, none of it was sticking in my brain, and I kept rereading the same page over and over. Like, if I'm tired, I really cannot read because I do not absorb anything. Or if I'm gonna read, I can't read poetry when I'm tired. I really like to think about poetry and really like delve into it and deconstruct it and what it means to me and all that. And I can't do that if I'm tired. I can't. Usually when I'm tired, I have headaches. Can't do poetry when I have headaches, unless it's like poetry more geared towards children. That's more like fun and very simple. I can do that, but like the poetry I typically like to read, I cannot read that when I'm tired. Another book that I'm hoping to get to in this coming year is The Stone Butch Blues by Leslie Feinberg, just because I've been wanting to read it for the past however many years, and I think that should be required reading. Actually, I can't really say that because I haven't read it, but I think it's required reading for me. I'm considering it required reading for myself. We'll check back in if I think it should be required reading for everyone, but it's definitely required reading for me, and so I'd like to get to that this year. You know, lesbianism. Anyways. I'd also like to reread some of my favorite Greek drama plays from college. In my freshman year, in my second semester, I took a Greek drama course where we had to read a bunch of Greek plays, and I loved it. It made me fall in love with Greek drama. And the reason I took the class was because I was like, oh, I like Greek mythology because of Percy Jackson. So I'll take the class. And so, of course, that had a lot to do with Greek mythology, but specifically we read a bunch of the plays, and it was just awesome. And so I specifically would love to reread the Oresteia. Loved that trilogy. And if I got to it, I'd read maybe Euripides. I remember the book I have of that one is green, so that'd be great to reread because I love green, if you can't tell. Anyways, and there's also definitely many Greek dramas I've never gotten to that I have not read at all, and I'd like to read some more this year. I also have a whole list on my phone of books that I'd like to get to this year if possible, but I'm not just gonna like sit here and name every single one of them because, you know, most likely I'm not gonna get to every single one of them. But one of the books I know is on that list that I really want to get to that I just remembered right now is Opal and Nev by Donny Walton, I believe. And that's about a Black journalist who like works for kind of like a magazine like the Rolling Stones, but like not the Rolling Stones. And the journalist interviews a rock duo, and I believe the whole thing is told in like interview style where it says like the name of the person and then like the line that they said. And so I'm really interested in that. I just think that sounds so cool. I love just creative storytelling, creatively telling the story. That was a mess of a sentence, but like I love when the writing reflects what's going on, essentially. I think that's awesome. And so I'm looking forward to that very much. I also want to read oh, it was amazing. My friend had recommended to me like well over a year ago a book called Loud Hands, which is just a bunch of, I believe, essays by autistic people. It was difficult to find from a place that wasn't Amazon, I believe, when I was looking for it, and I was like, okay, well, I'll get this at some point. And then one day I went to Harriet's bookshop with one of my friends, and we went into the used book section after looking at all of the newer releases in the normal sections. Anyways, I went to the used section and I found Loud Hands. And so I really want to read it. And I'm really, really looking forward to that. And I guess the last book I will talk about is this book that was called, I think, 7 Moves. And it, again, was another book that the same best friend who gave me The Book Thief gave that book to me, because I believe this was one of the times we went into a novel idea together and we were like, let's pick out books for each other and give them to each other so that we don't pick out our own books. And that was one of the books that she got for me. I believe it's a short story collection, but I don't actually know. It might be like a full novel. I really have no idea, but I know there was something lesbian about it, and that's why my friend got it for me. So another book I'd like to read this year was a memoir that I just got, which is called Gone, A Girl, a Violin, a Life Unstrung by Min Kim. And I love memoirs and I love instruments, so I think that this is really going to tickle my fancy. I think it's really going to do everything that I want a book to do. At least I hope. I don't want to put that much pressure on it, but in the very least, I think I'll enjoy it. Just really overall, I'm very much looking forward to getting back to the habit of reading regularly this year, because when I did read regularly, I really loved it, and my brain felt really good, and I'd like to get back to that because, you know, I'm an actor, I'm a playwright, I'm a writer, so my whole livelihood essentially revolves around stories. So I need to make sure that I'm reading stories, you know, often, and thinking about how they made me feel and what I liked about them, what I didn't like, so that I can continue making the stories that I write or portray or anything like that, so I can continue just expanding on them and making them the best that I can with the knowledge that I have. I'm really just trying to go with the flow a bit more, but also intentionally fill my free time with things that really make me very happy and fill me up and stuff like that. What I really love about reading is the limitless potential that it gives me to learn about myself and others and the world around me at large. There's just always something new to learn with books. I love when people I care about either gift me books or recommend me books so that I can learn something new about them. I love when a book makes me really introspective and I learn something new about myself because of a way that I maybe related to a character or a situation. I love reading nonfiction books so I can learn like science-y things or even self-helpy things, even like someone's thought process making a self-help book. That's fascinating to me. I love memoirs, probably for the same reason that I love watching vlogs on YouTube, because I'm nosy and I like knowing what people's lives are like. I just think it's so fascinating, and there's no shortage of stuff to learn through reading, and I think reading has always made me a better person and has always made me a more empathetic person, and I have always loved that about it. I love having that time to reflect on myself and reflect on the people in my life and reflect on my life and reflect on the people not in my life and reflect on the nature of the world. And I think that that's really special. And to be inviting more of that time into my life is something that I'm really happy that I'm currently doing and striving for. I just noticed that I was slouching. I think I've been slouching for the whole time. That's terrible. But am I going to refilm this? No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. However, I do really need to work on my slouching. It always makes my neck feel weird, and I don't want to do that anymore. I really don't. I don't want to be a sloucher. I'm trying not to be, but I am one. I am, for so many reasons, and I'm not going to get into them. But that's really all that I had to say today. I'm just really excited to see all that I'm going to read this year, and I hope, in the very least, that I can make space for at least one page of reading something every single day. I'd love to hear about any books that you're feeling excited about if you like reading, and so let me know them. I'd love to hear about them, or if you have any recommendations or just anything in general you're excited about. I just love hearing people be excited about things, really. But I'm gonna sign off because I want to keep working on this, and turns out it is difficult to draw and talk at the same time. I did it, but I definitely did take lots of long pauses in my speaking, but that's okay because that makes sense. But yeah, I'm gonna sign off. Thank you very much for hanging out with me. It has been a pleasure, as always. And yeah, thanks for hanging. Bye. Once again, that's a wrap. Goodbye. Goodbye. Bye.